In 2018, Avengers Infinity War would release and break the highest grossing worldwide opening and become the fastest film ever to reach $1 billion of box office. With it, it would bring characters together in a way we had not seen before. Now, of course, this was built on the foundation laid in the past years with incredibly good superhero movies, the likes of Iron Man, Captain America, and many more. Movies that, at their core, have a simple fundamental idea behind it, and that is the fight and triumph of good over evil. They give us hope, strength, and a desire to do better. They show us that no matter how bad things get, no matter how hopeless it all seems, we can choose to be like Spider-Man or Captain America or Iron Man and bear the burden that is ours to bear. They show us that good can and will triumph over evil, and it is worth to fight for. Now, simple ideas like these, as I see it, have tremendous power when done right. Something that can be seen in every medium possible, from books to music to video games to even sports. Now, as far as the ones we have seen, a part of this reality is that sometimes there are losses along the way. Something showed in all of these movies, but very powerfully done at the end of the Infinity War movie. Now, as Thanos collects all the stones and snaps his fingers, and we see half the population evaporate, the weight of this is felt. Some of the most popular characters die, and in this universe, it is an absolutely tragic event. Or it would have been if they stopped making movies after that. Unfortunately, that was the peak of Marvel. But worst of all, the movie that came after it, as I see it, completely ruins everything they did right. The main problem, forgetting what makes these movies great and going for an idea that is overly complex, forgetting the simple ones that work, and essentially trying to do the most complicated thing ever, and that is time travel. Long story short, they go back in time, gather all the Avengers, and essentially revert the powerful consequences that happened in the first movie, essentially making it inconsequential. At the time, people loved it, and it was a massive event, making it one of the biggest box office hits of all time. There's no denying that. Yet, when we look back without the hype of it all clouding our judgment, it is easy to see that this could not be the way to solve things. If you want to show all these characters dying, then they have to stay dead. Otherwise, the risk and consequences of every movie that came before it, and that made this one so great, is lost. When the main simple idea is forgotten, and the creators begin thinking that what matters is having the most amount of characters, or special effects, or cool battles, then things start to worsen very, very quickly. Take a look at all that came after, and it's rather easy to see. Now, for you, you may not be making blockbuster movies with gigantic budgets and teams of thousands of people. However, as I see it, you too can make great work. Despite where you are, who you are, the resources you have at your availability, how few they may be, this is something you can do. However, it is something that requires you to give up what you thought was going to save you. And it all starts with the first obstacle in the way. Anyone that attempts to create something, in this case, these people created the movies, but if you're trying to write an article or a book or create a YouTube video or paint or just do a project for yourself, whatever it may be, there's a lot of obstacles in the way to creating it. But the first obstacle, the one that appears right in the beginning, is which idea to pursue. Because no matter the medium you're going to create through, you're always going to have to choose, what am I going to create? What idea am I trying to bring to life? And this problem brings in another more important problem as I see it, which is in the age that we live in nowadays, that it feels that there's infinite content, there's infinite people doing infinite things. It's very easy to believe that the way you're going to stand out and that you're going to reach your success and make this creation successful is by being more complicated and complex and creating something no one has ever done, but just in a way that is very complex and detailed, and you start really overthinking the idea. And this is the same problem that we see in this example of the Marvel movies, of the Avengers movies, because the first one was great because it is fundamentally still a very simple idea and execution of it. Of course, it's complex in the doing of it, of, all these actors have to be there, and the special effects, and the recordings, and the editing, and then of course, it is a complicated process, but it stems from a simple idea, which is good guys versus bad guy fighting each other and trying to stop this bad guy from getting this thing that then makes things go bad. Very simple. And you're watching the movie, and everything is like them trying to stop him, the bad guy, from getting the rocks, the stones. And so the more stones he gets, the worse things are getting. And no matter how many crazy things are happening, this ties everything together, and it gives sense to everything. Now in the second movie, it's time travel, they go back, and then these other characters come, where did they come from? And it overcomplicates everything, because it is a too complex of an idea. It's not simple enough. And if you fall for that mistake of going for an idea like that and believing that what will give you your break and give you success you're after, and attention and praise, and even before all that, to just create something good, is to start from a foundation of complication, of complexity and all this, then you've made a mistake already. Because too complex things allow space for us to hide.
Guys, so quick break here on the video as I'm editing. Just wanted to let you know that if you're looking for some more of this clarity in your thoughts and then put that into actions and your ideas, we have this tool called Cardinal that really helps you to do this in a more organic way rather than just journaling or thinking to yourself. If you want to check that out, link will be in the description. So let's get back to the video.
Hides, behind complex concepts and fancy words and all these details, something simplicity does not offer. Because simplicity forces you to just be there naked and fully understand what you're doing. There's nowhere to hide. If I fry you an egg, there's no crazy sauces or details or nothing to hide behind it. There it is. It's either good or it's not. And when we look at things in this way, with the first obstacle being the idea, and honestly, a lot of times doing this mistake of trying to overcomplicate things to stand out in this way, we forget that the time to overcomplicate and to add detail and to add all of these nuances and details, which we should do, is not in the idea itself. Because what we have to recognize, for the most part, is that comparing this to a building, the time to get fancy with it is not when you're building the structure and foundation that will hold everything. Yeah, we all want to do the pretty colors for the walls and the decoration and the pretty lights and the details, but we can't start with those. If I start putting those together and there's no foundation, it's gonna fall. The building will not stand. But then when I look at the foundation, what requires to build it, it's not fancy at all. It's just metal rods, concrete, and a bunch of hard-working men screaming at each other most days, all day, trying to get this to be stable and strong enough to hold the rest. This is not the time to complicate. It's the time to just do it right, correctly, as simple as possible within the complexity it has, of course, to then allow for all the fancy and details and complex things that come after to be able to stand. And this is what we're failing to realize here when we attempt to create, which I have no doubt you're attempting to create something, because otherwise you're just living and consuming. And if that's the case, then I urge you to create. And if you do, this is going to be the first obstacle that appears, which is which idea to pursue. And whatever you choose, make sure that it is simple enough, not only for the whoever will consume to understand, but more importantly for you to understand. Because we cannot pass this responsibility for those interacting with our work. You can't expect just to make, you can, but then you're just one of these artists that it's like, oh, it's modern art and it's for the person to figure out, and you're just looking at a bunch of trash glued together and you're like, this is not good. People can then like over-intellectualize these things, but we know when it's not good. We know when the person didn't bother to figure it out, and it's passing that responsibility to you. And people may be trying to be like, no, but I do it for myself and all art's for myself. But I think that's ego getting in the way, because we cannot escape the reality that whatever we create, we don't create in a vacuum, and we don't create for ourselves. It is always with the intent to be seen and to be interacted with and for others to consume it. And so if I don't understand what I'm doing, how can I expect the other person to understand and enjoy? I can't. Now, at this point, you may tell me, well, but what about something like Lord of the Rings that is so complex and has different languages and regions and people with, and it's so complex in the story and the lore took years to build, and I tell you, it is. But it is complex after an idea that is very easy to understand. The fundamental idea of Lord of the Rings is there's bad, ring bad, good versus evil, and now Frodo, because of the bad things happening, has to take this ring and drop it in the, oh my god, I'm forgetting, the Mordor, not the furnace, the lava, because the only place it can be destroyed. And that's it. This is going to be his journey going there, and I understand why he has to do this, why it can only happen there, and then it's essentially good versus bad and a battle of temptation. Very easy. I did a lot of words to say that, but I could just say it is bad versus evil, resisting temptation, and this guy taking the ring from here to there to restore things to good. That's it. All of these complex things that come after, the languages, the different races, the different battles, all that is aiding the idea. And so throughout the movie, when you're watching, you never lose track of what's happening and why these things matter and why these battles are important and why these consequences truly feel that they have weight to them. Because if they lose, then evil will win. That's it. It is fundamentally a simple idea that then has a lot of complexity within it, within the margins and borders it defined. Then, of course, it has all these things and all the lore and all that, which is what makes it even better, because you like it so much and you enjoy it so much that if you choose to dive deeper, you can. And then you see all this and the different realms and all of that, but you know that the storyline keeping it all together was very clearly defined and understood. And because the author understood it very well, he could share it in a way that was easy to understand and to interact and to enjoy, and then all the complexity can be added to it. But what we must recognize here is that we must not put the cart before the horse. I think that's how I say it. We must not put the cart before the horse and try to go ahead and start writing my book and going right away for the new language and all these things, forgetting why am I writing? What is the story? What am I trying to share here? Now, of course, as well, to give the other side to it, of course, it is also possible to have a complex idea, something that's not easy to understand right away and that has all these details in the idea itself that is not easy to understand and still be good. And that you perhaps don't understand right away, but you still enjoy. For example, a personal favorite would be Tenet, which is, you watch it, makes no sense right away. Maybe watch the second time, makes a bit more sense, and you have to watch a video explaining it. But this only happened, also to give context, from a director that did so many movies that have fundamentally simple ideas, and he mastered them and he did them very well. But I don't believe that's where we should start, and that's not what we should be attempting all the time. I do believe a lot of times this is just ego getting in the way. We think that we're going to outsmart the other people and just be better through the idea itself, not realizing that it is not about that. Because I have no doubt you've been confronted with a piece of art that just stopped you dead on your tracks and forced you to contemplate the beauty of what you were seeing in that moment. Could have been a sunset, a painting, anything else, but you know what I'm talking about. And when we look at these things, and when we are really, especially things that are man-made and that makes us stop there, it's because it's like an arrow piercing straight to its target, to the core of the pure emotions that we have and we feel about it. And sure, when you start looking at the details, you're going to see the brush strokes and the little details and the frustration of the artist that took to get there, maybe all the previous versions that didn't make it until he got to this one. But all of those aid in this feeling you get right away, in this pure form of truth and beauty. And so we have to recognize that in a lot of ways, what we are to create, whether it's more artistic or not, if it is to be good, again, and I'm repeating myself a bit, it is not about overcomplicating it and making it super complex and going not in the beginning, is we start from a simple, pure, true idea, and then from there, everything we do will be essentially supported by that, and everything we do has to aid that idea. Otherwise, we're going to have with what happens when you take all the colors in the palette and you mix them together, expecting to have the best color ever, but you just get brown. But then if you take two of those colors, red and white, and you mix them a little bit in the right tone, you have the perfect shade of pink. Keep that in mind.